essentially what my plan today is to go through the PowerPoint presentation I've put together for the CH series. The intention of this webinar is really a pre-launch orientation for the compact hygienic. Since there's going to be a transitional period between the RH, which is and will be available for a period of time, wanted to familiarize yourself with the changes coming incorporated into the CH design, because there are some new features, and a lot of the other great features that the RH had we're still working on and building from there. So without further ado, I'm going to continue on. Why is this not forwarding? Hopefully we'll keep the technical difficulties to a minimum. Do I need to just click every time? Okay. And again, this is the topic that we're going to cover today is the next generation of the rounded hygienic, which is the CH or compact hygienic. So if you're familiar with the RH, and hopefully you are, this is going to be building upon what you already know and some further enhancements. This is what the exploded view looks like of the compact hygienic. In general, the design is very similar to what the RH had, with some enhancements which we will go over. But this just looks at all the components if you had them all laid out. These are kind of like the major bullets. Overall, it's more compact, still hygienic as the RH version was, still has the rounded geometry as the RH version had, has the strength to certainly surpass any of the expectations as far as from the load capacity. It is a little bit easier, so as facilitating the installation of this, which we'll go over, you'll be able to see graphically what the differences are, is also BPE compliant. And I guess one of the other nice features is we've put in an O-ring into an extra O-ring into the design to capture the acorn bolt, which again is more of an ease of installation item. Overall, it's it's very similar as far as the configurations from what we already have on the RH. This just shows the graphic of if you're using it in a sequence, you have the ability to create the slope without any additional stress into the line, as many of the common practices are for other products out there. The patented design remains the same as far as the tension ring and the slope adjustments with the shoulder bolt orientation. This again allows for the slope either direction, 3.5 degrees, to comply with the current BPE recommendations for slope, regardless of the in terms of a skid or long. This just shows graphically there where they come in handy as far as putting that 2-degree slope. BPE does have a table, as I referred to cover a variety, 4 different options as far as slope requirements. So again, this is same features as the RH, so nothing's lost in terms of the meeting the requirements. It's again compliant with the standard. Does incorporate some innovations to make it easier to install, and again, the same features as far as handling the stress areas, concentrated loads, or what have you, as far as challenges in the process piping installation. Coming in 2009 is what it says, and it certainly will be in 2009. We'd love to have this launched sooner than later, but I don't know if if anyone has been exposed to product launches, there's always some measure of progress and some things that tend to delay launch. So we're trying to get all of our ducks in a row, so to speak, and expect this to be out anywhere in the month of June, possibly into July. So again, coming very soon, and that's the whole purpose of this orientation, would be to familiarize everybody with it ahead of time, so that certainly you can present to your customer base in a more. So overall, CH series, again, same round of geometry. There's a few key areas here where it will make a difference, and more often than not, you hear, what is it going to mean to me? It's the bottom line dollar may be more of a bigger impact as far as benefit to every end customer. The weight in terms of percentage, what we ended up doing was trimming out a lot of the material, then also maintain the strength. The weight in the groups 1 through 5, which would represent 2-inch tube size and smaller, anywhere between 30 and 40% material weight reduction, which is fairly significant, and also in terms of dollars and cents, that's where the cost savings will come into play for the end customer. It is slimmer, and we'll cover. I'll have a graphic on that in a slide or two. Meets all the strength and durability requirements. We've done, actually we're just finalizing some of the testing. We're performing on it for stress and for load, so doing some destructive tests in-house. That's near completion, but I have enough data to support the, as far as the shear force requirements that we already have for the RH. More economical, and again, that's probably would be in the neighborhood of a 10% differential on those group 1 through 5 versus their equivalent size range for the RH, and that's significant. The other thing that will lower the overall weight, not only on the housing geometry, but they've changed the geometry on the rods for the equivalent sizes, because as some of you may have seen, on the small group 1, 2, and 3 on the RH had a fairly large diameter rod, certainly a lot larger than it would typically be required. So some of the rod diameters will drop down in size as well. And again, as I mentioned, we're just finalizing all the testing, but we have completed the vast array of tests that we need to complete in order to feel confident in the answer to this. I have the next screen up here. It won't be easy to difference because there's not at this view it's not as distinguishable between the RH and the CH design. But in a nutshell, what I'm covering here is the 1 through 5 sizes. The width drops by 1/4 inch, and the rod sizes, rod diameters rather, for the dynamic and the threaded housings will also drop down in size. So again, facilitating maybe less time for welding of the rod, certainly a lower cost because less material. There is a slight centerline difference comparing the RH to the CH due to a smaller dimensional envelope. One of the key elements as far as in the design development was to maintain the ability to fit this within 1 inch of insulation if it's designed to be insulated. But as a result of using smaller geometry on the housing itself, and it changes the centerline difference. So if people have our drawing embedded into any of their process piping designs, we will certainly have all that same information that we can CAD drawings and 3D models available to pass on to the customer and let them embed into the their new piping designs and be accurate. The other change that we did was on the Weld Plate version. We reduced the size of the Weld Plate. I'll have a graphic that'll show that in a little while. And again, another key feature is we're capturing the acorn bolt to again eliminate the worry as far as installation of losing a bolt if they're high up on a ladder. Installing any of these to eliminate any loose parts. So a one-piece design, so to speak. Here's a side view showing the difference. This is a threaded housing. You can see that the width certainly is where the impact is. Not only the width, but also into the housing. Some of the material where there was a large, I guess, buildup of material for the RH. Some of that has been removed to again further lower the weight but maintain the strength. Lends itself to the question, well, what's going to happen with the RH series? The RH series is going to be slowly phased out but supported in the interim. So we're going to maintain the stock for the RH for a period of time, possibly up to 2 years, certainly to support any kind of replacement inserts, as that may be a need. We're going to have the CH available. Again, well, I have listed a first quarter, but it looks as if it's going to be. Currently, we do have a bit of that group 1 through 5 on hand, but just not all sizes and all configurations and all inserts. And so we are just in the process of build over the next handful of weeks. The other point I wanted to make was the interchangeability. Again, groups 6 through 9 on the CH are going to be very similar to the existing RH. There are some modifications that are going to be occurring, but the width will not necessarily change from the RH version is. We're going to have again, it's dedicated inserts for either the CH for all sizes. So again, we're looking to have this for a couple of years. So if people have it spec'd in and don't feel the need or desire to change, we'll certainly for a period of time, as far as at least having inventory and the capability of producing it for future use. That design in general is the same as the RH was, rounded geometry. Still maintains contact 100% on the circumference of the tube. Also applies for copper tube and pipe if that's what the process demands. Minimize area of entrapment, and in addition to that, dampens vibration. We want to maintain those as key design features for this product and not lose anything as far as from the rounded the RH series rather. The design, again, in principle, same as far as the housing itself, where the shoulder bolt comes through and allows that slope adjustment in one direction and restricts the clamp body from sagging in the perpendicular position. So same features as RH. The other thing that we are also maintaining is the ability to offer the fabrication stanchions for floor stands as well as hang mount. And again, this it will help facilitate the installation process. Allows for the flexibility in installation so that it can be done with a simple tack weld and a follow-up weld to seal in place at the proper height once they do assign what that height needs to be for the slope requirement. The other key element, which I pointed out here, no loose parts. So it arrives and it can be installed right from there. No need to put it together as a and kitting it before it's actually installed. Here's a picture that shows where the acorn bolt has an O-ring on it to retain. It was actually a very simple addition. We looked at it at capturing the acorn bolt in several methods, but this one seemed to be the best solution. Essentially, what was done is the insert itself has a hole, obviously, for the acorn bolt. The hole was opened up a slight bit, enough to support, allow that O-ring to fit and rest or nest inside of that. So again, it doesn't take away from any of the installation, the functionality of the part. Again, the whole point is to make it easier and user-friendly, so no loose parts. The size range, same size range as the current RH. We have housings and rods in 304 stainless steel as the standard, and also available in 316L. A 25 RA finish on all steel components. The hardware groups 1 through 9. So we have 9, actually 10 because we have an 8 and an 8A, but 10 groups to encase 27 actual sizes in all. So it simplifies some of the inventory requirements. It's just showing us some of the models, how they, as they stack up, you can see graphically how that looks. This is the dynamic housing. As you can see, the collar is rounded to allow that slope adjustment feature. And the threaded housings, as you may notice that the collar on these threaded housings has dropped in diameter, so it's more of a slimline look to it. But again, same thread engagement. This covers the housing groups and shows the different size range within. As I pointed out, the group 1 through 5 would be the first thing that would be made available. So I believe what we'll have, and where the cost differential would or benefit would show up as well. We'll have, in addition to having all the inserts for tube size pre-molded, we're also, in addition to that, having all of the copper and pipe size pre-molded so that there's no time to have any further lead time in terms of boring out a blank component. I think up to now and currently with the RH, copper tube inserts were milled out of a blank, and there would be a lead time associated with it. But with the popularity of the increased demand for the copper sizes, we're having those dedicated, already pre-molded. And we're also considering having a color code system, so there actually would be 6 colors. That might be further down the road later this year, but we're still going to have the black as the anchor and the gray as the guide. So same color scheme as we currently have, but again, we've had some requests for also differentiating both the copper guide and anchor and the pipe guide and anchor in a unique color scheme to make it easier to identify while in service and for installation purposes. Let's see, again, the thermal expansion guide, as I mentioned, is going to have the gray color. The diameter of that is 22 thousandths larger than the anchor, to allow that to have free thermal expansion for any SIP process that you might, the customers may have in their application. What I'm going to cover now is mounting configurations. This is an example showing all 4. Same 4 mounting configurations as we had with the RH. Slight changes as far as the part number configuration, and on the weld plate there's a slight change on that as well. So we still have the dynamic. We have a rigid with a welded bar, a threaded version where you would add a threaded rod to it of your choice, and also weld plate version. The first one I'm going to cover is the dynamic. This is just showing you in general what you'll notice in the catalog, which is soon to be released. The way we differentiate was we changed the figure series to a 200 series from 100 series on the RA. Again, design feature to self-adjust and allow different position, different degrees of slope remains the same. Component breakdown, as I showed you before, the same typical components. The only additional component, which sorry we don't show on this graphic, is that retention O-ring for the acorn bolt. Here's just a quick cross-sectional, a drawing of the compact series. The dimensions, as I mentioned, will change slightly. Certainly the U dimension, as highlighted on this dimension, as well as the W1 and W2 will slight change. But from our rough pull from the field, and shown some people has been, it's just a matter of adjusting when they're installing to scribe at a different level, assembled as they go from initial point of installation down the line. And again, with the inserts, just to highlight there, black is still going to remain the anchor, gray will remain as the guide. The rigid with the welded bar, pretty much the same story as pointed out earlier, 200 series, so it's a figure 221 CHR versus the 121 RHR. And again, the rigid design is identical to what it was prior for the RH. Just showing what it looks like. As you can see, it does have a slight different look to it, certainly with the slimline, more compact dimension on the housing. Next one is the threaded version, and as I pointed out, the collar on that top of housing is going to be a smaller than currently with the RH. But as far as the orientation for the thread, it's the same as it was. The rods, again, we get different, different lengths, same as it was for the RH. And again, it goes to an RHT as far as the part number prefix. Just showing the figure number is 245, and I believe it was a 145 prior to the RH. And again, just showing the side view is where you can see that Z dimension is going to be less on the groups 1. The next version here is the weld plate. The weld plate itself, after receiving some feedback from customers, and more typically for OEM skid manufacturers, the size of the weld plate was unnecessarily large, or larger than it needed to be. Certainly from a strength factor, that we could reduce that size and maintain the integrity of the component. And more importantly, it's to save on installation time. What we ended up doing, as you can see here, the pad is a 1.5-inch square pad, so that would also allow for less welding time and be able to fit in an inch, if it's an 1.5-inch square structural piece, as far as square tube that is being welded to, that it would be more a clean line in terms of the installed point. Again, same scenario as far as the anchor and guide. These two are fairly new additions, at least as far as putting in the catalog. They may have been available, but we're throwing these out as far as standard components. The figure 223 is a base stand with a reduced size pipe to primarily be used in the very small and the smaller end of the group sizes. We also have a rod stand plate on the right, which actually is similar to the rigid, but instead of having just the rigid version, we would also be welded to the stand plate, all ready to be installed. The floor mount stanchions pretty much are going to be the same. We do have a variety of stanchions, whether it is produced with square tube or round pipe in different diameters. We're just highlighting all those options for people. Hang mount, as it was before, just showing the orientation. Typically where in terms of the installation, you have two field welds. So the stanchion can be welded to the structure on the top, and then the 1/8 inch fillet weld will be performed at once you have that rod inserted at the proper height. It can be tack welded and seal welded after that. This again just shows you the different diameters and different styles. The hang mount and the floor mount versions. As you can see, on the round version, actually on the right graphic, you can see there is, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit too fast. How do I back up here? Okay, sorry. Happy fingers. The plate that's welded onto the square tube is flat, whereas on the rounded version has a dome feature to it. It is something we actually fabricate both versions in-house. The dome is not your typical A403 weld cap, a piped weld cap, but we actually press them here in our facility and has a dome to it, again, for drainability. Overall, as far as the technical information, if anybody has a request for any 3D models, drawings, PDFs for any individual drawing or models for any of the sizes, they are available. Whether or not they're going to be posted on the website or just available on request will be determined, but they certainly are available. And we have also MSDS sheets for the inserts if there's a request for that too. Just highlighting the testing that was conducted. There's a load test and a shear test. The load is to ensure that it's strong enough to handle the weight. These components are designed to handle much more weight than typically you would ever see in terms of the in practice for the process piping. But there's a safety factor involved just in case there's any additional impact of any concentrated loads, not necessarily the process piping, but any of the adjacent equipment. The shear test is also designed to make sure that it grips properly, that with the anchor insert it will hold against a lateral pressure. We have that in our catalog as a shear force value. And I have an example there. It's for 400 pounds of shear force on the 3-inch tube size. Again, that's with an anchor insert, not necessarily a guide insert. This graphic just simply shows that we have this load test that we've performed, but it certainly surpasses any requirement that most people would have to hold the weight. With water and insulation on that, as you can see, per 10-foot section, which is near to where you would typically have to hang, spacing between supports. without having any sagging occur, you're looking at less than 100 pounds up through that group 5, where the 2-inch tube size. Sorry, it says pipe size, but that would also apply for for lighter scheduled pipe, not necessarily Sched 40, but less than 100 pounds on those smaller sizes, and as you can see, even up through 6-inch, 345 pounds, and we've tested it far above 1,500 pounds. So there's certainly a safety factor that's covered on any of these. Here's just some graphics showing a picture showing the test rig setup when we perform these for all the sizes. Here's a load test. As you can see, we've got 1,500 pounds of load that's put onto the entire assembly, and we have a report as far as the findings after any of the load tests are performed, just to capture if there's any distortion or deformation. This one is just highlighting that separation begins to appear between the plastic and the tube. That's the first thing starts to fail, begins to fail, when you're putting it at the loads greater than 1,500 pounds. The next graphic just shows that at this area we put nearly 3,000 pounds of load force, still maintaining, although there's more separation that shows. As you can see on the left-hand side, and again these are a variety of sizes that have been tested, you can see the distortion on the separation on the left, right under where the threaded connection is. There's a separation that begins, and this is again greater than 2,000 pounds, which is far larger of a weight than required. It's just a picture showing how it deforms. The shear test, as you can see on the top of this picture, we have the threaded housing oriented on a vertical piece of pipe, and then the test rig pushes down upon, there's an anchor insert on there, pushes down upon that. As you can see, it's nearly 500 pounds of force, and what we do is we measure that if it holds and if it slips, any distance that it might slip at the different weight, or I should say the load imparted into that. This just captures what we found at the end of our load testing. Pretty much all has the same result, that a gap appears between a tube and the clamp at the top at 1,500 pounds. At 2,000 pounds, or in some cases the larger sizes 2,500 and 2,900 pounds, that it stretches and the gap increases. The acorn bolt tends to bend, but again, this is a 2,000 and 2,500, which hopefully will never be an actual service level. And then the clamp nor its hardware fails during any of the tests, and that's important from a standpoint that even if it does deform at the high force, it never fails and drops, opens up and drops any of the piping. And when it's stretched, it stays in position after removing, and again, that's typical for any cold working of stainless steel. The chart that I have here is the shear force. What we found is actually the line that we have for the RH series here is just to show what we currently have in the catalog from the smoothbore block series to the RH rounded series. The testing that we've completed so far on the shear force for the equivalent sizes for the CH series is very similar and nearly identical to the RH series line. So again, especially giving a safety factor of 2, it more than supports the performance requirements that we had for the product itself. This just kind of shows that we do have a recommended maximum spacing for all applications in terms of tube size, pipe size, or copper tube, where we'll show what the maximum spacing. And this is essentially a recommendation per standard MSS standard SP69. Gives you at least an idea. If somebody says how many feet of pipe or tube they're installing, gives you an idea of how many supports or hangers they're going to need for that. The other thing that we're going to be doing along with initial launch is going to affect any of the material marking. So all of the hardware will be marked with material grade, 304 or 316. We also show on the smoothbore block style all of the weld plates and cover plates will also have material marking. That will be that's being already conducted in place for the smoothbore as well. The lot traceability feature will also be added. As you can see, we've got the lot identification on the housing itself. That will take a little bit more of a time frame to integrate that in, but we're looking at later on into the fall once we get through our launch and regular production of new components, and that's based on increasing our PMI has been certainly a requirement for the fittings industry and traceability. Even though this is not necessarily a wetted component, there has been requests to have traceability on it. It helps us for material control as we get raw material in and need to segregate that by lot. Availability, and again, I think that what we're going to find is if you have a requirement for, once we do have it launched, for copper size inserts, they'll be pre-molded. There won't be any waiting time to have them milled, which is good news. So UPS orders, if we get them before 2 o'clock, generally ship within 2 days, same day if available upon request. Larger orders, they'll have to ship common carrier within 5 business days, and the special orders, which really are going to be the fabrications, the stanchions, are 5 to 10 business days. So maintaining that quick turnaround on orders, small or large, and also facilitating a dedicated insert for the copper size. That is the presentation. Hopefully you've learned something and are prepared for the Compact Hygienic series when it becomes available. There will be an announcement sent out. We're trying to incorporate monthly mailers out as a push email so that everybody is brought up to speed on a more rapid basis. This is for all of the Behringer products, but there will be a few of them that I've put together for as part of the launch. And I guess at this point, we'll answer any questions you have. Sean, have they had anything to add? All right. Comments, certainly I'd love to hear feedback as far as what we have going to be available for this product. We want to make sure we're meeting all the expectations. This is not only from a design standpoint, but from a performance standpoint, as well as making it easy to order, easy to install, and very clearly easy to understand how this is a better animal than you may have out as other options out there. Have other comments coming in? Okay. Certainly, if this presentation, and I have other presentations available, I'll be happy to send that out. We are finalizing the catalog. We're very near completion on that. That'll be available and posted in a PDF file on the website, but I can also push that out to anybody that might want it ahead of time. Hard copies, as we currently do for all of our existing sanitary catalogs, are available upon request. All you need to do is send us a request, and we'll be happy to fulfill that once they are back from printing. Let's see, Sean, if you have anything to add?
One other thing I'd add too is we've recorded the presentation today, so if there's anybody at your company who wasn't able to attend the live version, we can always get you a recorded version. Is a Windows media file that you can watch. We can put it on a CD-ROM, burn it for you, and then you can watch it in any CD or computer. And
we're actually contemplating, depending on the file size and the link, to be able to post that on our website, just like you have any other downloadable file that we have there. Once you're signed into our system, we want to make these and any of the other presentations of our other products available that way eventually.
Yeah, I'll just on that note, I'll mention from our website, from BehringerSystems.com, there is a link on there that says online training. You can click on that link and see a list of upcoming webinars that we're going to be presenting. We're doing product-specific webinars on all of our other products, our industrial clamps and our filters and ball valves and things. You can register for those right from our website. And then there's also another link in that area which has pre-recorded webinars. So as we record them, we post the links and put them onto our website so you can view them at a later time. This one will probably add to the list of webinars, so you'll be able to come on at a later time. Go to our online training section and view this along with other webinars. I think that kind of concluded everything. There weren't really any other questions. We had a question if we could email the presentation to someone. I think Dan covered that. We can send a PDF of the presentation, anything like that. So if there's anything that you do want at this time, if you type it in the question thing, we'll have a record of that question and we'll be able to get those out to you. Other than that, I think that pretty much would conclude the presentation for today. So it was a great turnout. We appreciate everyone coming out and supporting us and your time and learning our products.
And certainly if there's a request to have any other additional information, not specifically to this product, but maybe the application, and also the requirements from a BPE perspective, we would love to find out what you're looking for. I have started I'm working on a task group for BPE specifically for hangers. And this covers a lot of additional elements that weren't necessarily in there, where there are some design requirements, but what we're trying to get into is performance requirements and features that are required to allow for slope, to eliminate sag in the lines, and allow the free movement for thermal expansion, and proper use of anchors and guides too. So appreciate your time, and hopefully it's been informative for you, and look forward to hearing your feedback. And certainly I would, in my travels, I could love to incorporate a lunch and learn session if that's going to be helpful for your group, or certainly customers as they request them as well. So with that, I guess I'll sign off here and wish everybody a good day, and look forward to hearing from you down the road. Thank you.
Thank you.